Hello everyone. Welcome back to another session on SQL. So today we will be looking at matrix reporting, then some advanced transformations using window frames, and then we will also look at data safety as well. So uh, in today's session, basically, this is advanced data transformation and in window frames. So we will first look at first value and last value, while lead or lag look at the immediately adjacent rows. Whereas first value and last value will give you the absolute first or absolute last value within a specific window. Like if I'm doing select star from a table where I'm giving where condition, and so basically I'm creating a window. So if I want to capture the next row value, I can use the previous row value, I can use lag. The next row value, if I want to use, I can use lead. And then if I want to use the absolute, the very first value of that entire view or entire output or entire window, so I can use first value, or if I want to use the very last value, I can use last underscore value. Okay. Apart from that, we can also use window functions which evaluate everything in by partition. And like for example, if you want a running total or a 3-day moving average, okay, you use the window frame clause to restrict the rows or the physical rows. In that particular scenario, we can use rows between. Okay. Now, apart from that, pivot, just like the basic pivot that you do in SQL, we also have a pivot function which we can use. And then just like CT, you'll find a lot of similarity while using CT and temp, but still both the options are available. If you want to use temp, you can use temporary tables. And then I mean, basically if you want to use temporary tables, you can use something like this using temp. And apart from that, if you want to use insert, update, delete, you can always do that. Or if you want to trigger something, you can always do that triggers as well. Okay. Now, if I want to talk more about trigger, so as you can see, so triggers are basically kind of stored procedures that automatically fires when an event occurs on a table. It could be anything. Okay, if you are making any changes in a particular table, it will trigger, and they are heavily used to build automated and unbypassable audit logs. So especially if you want to document any modifications on your table, you can do it using triggers. Okay. Now, next is like you can also use begin, tran, commit, and rollback. So basically, like if you can see the scenario where where in the data, basically if you are documenting a transfer of $100 from one table to the other table, like checking to savings, and the database basically deducts maybe a certain amount from checking, and then for some reason the server crashes before it adds to the to savings. Okay, so what happens to your money? So since the transaction has already been done physically, but the data has not yet moved from one table to the other table, in that particular scenario, we can wrap multiple update or insert statements in a transaction, making sure that either all of them succeeded. So we can use commit, or if anything goes wrong, none of them will execute, which is basically rollback, which I mean, we can use that for reverting the database back to its original state. Okay, so if there are some programming language where if you are making any data manipulations, so commit is a must. Without any commit, it will not work. But in SQL, so basically the commit doesn't come by default, but still we can set up something where we can do commit and rollbacks as well. Okay. Now let's move on to our hands-on. Okay. Now, the very first thing that we will be doing is we will create our database. So create database D11 demo, and then we just use go. Okay, so our database is ready, but it has not been pointed. So I've been finding this particular issue, but what I'll do, so I'll just go ahead and manually point it to day 11. Okay. So now we are good to go. Next, once our database is ready, next we will create table daily sales. Okay, so the first table that we will be creating is daily sales. Okay, now so our daily sales table is ready. So if I just go ahead and look at it, select star from daily sales. Okay, so we have created, but the table is blank for now. Okay, now we will insert into daily sales these values. Okay, row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, we'll insert 6 rows. Okay, so now we are getting these 6 rows. Okay, now we want to use the tables for transactions and triggers. Okay, so we can create a table called blank bank accounts. Okay, in this bank account, we'll insert some value, 2 records. Okay, now next we will create another table called audit logs, which will just help us document whatever changes that we are doing. Okay, and then we will okay, but before going there, let me check if select star from. Okay, yeah, we're good. Next, we'll create audit log. Oh, it's already created. That's fine. Okay. Now, once our tables are ready, so let's extract the first value and last value. Okay. So here first we are using salesperson, sale data and revenue from daily sales, and then we'll use or we'll try to extract the first revenue. Okay. So for first value in the revenue column. So we are trying to extract the first value. So first value revenue over partition by sales and order by sale date. Okay. So we will look at the first ever sale that has happened, okay, by a particular salesperson, and then we will extract the revenue. And for extracting the first ever sales or sale done by a salesperson on the basis of sale date. Okay. So for that, we will use first value revenue over partition by salesperson order by sale date. Okay. Now, you can note like last value is requires an explicit window frame to look at all the way to the end of the partition. Okay, so when you're using last value over revenue, last value for revenue over partition by salesperson, order by sale date till this point, then we have to use rows between unbounded preceding and unbounded following. So this is what we normally add. So this, what it does, it creates an explicit window frame to look all the way to the end of the partition. Okay. As again, final day revenue and then from daily sales. So what we have here, first day revenue, we have a column called first day revenue, and then we have another column called last day revenue or final day revenue. Okay. Now if you go ahead and execute. Okay, so this is what we have. So we have salesperson, sale date, revenue, day one revenue, and final day revenue. Okay. Now you might ask, what is the other use case for this scenario? If you want to find out what was the first ever transaction for the day and what was the last ever transaction for a particular day, in that particular scenario, we can order by exactly R. Okay, for a partition by day, order by R. Then you can also partition by multiple fields as well. Okay, salesperson and sale date, and then order by time field. Okay. Okay. Now, once we have this, okay, then now let's move on to the next option. So here we will look at running totals and moving average. So what is running total? So basically, I'm having a transaction on day one as 1 rupee. On the second day, maybe I'm having transaction of 100 rupee. So in running total, so day one will be 1 and day two will be 101. Day three will be sum of all the rows before it. Day four will be sum of all the rows before it. Okay. So that's how we can get running total. And moving averages is basically like if I'm looking at a window of 3 rows. Okay. No, now the first row is 1, the second row is 2, and the third row is 3. If I do moving average, it means every row will become the average of first, second, and third. Okay, so like if I'm having three rows, then the middle row will be like 1 plus 2 will be 3, and 3 plus 3 will be 6. So middle row average will become 3 by 3 will become 2. So since the value is 2, it will still become remain as 2. Okay, so whenever we are doing moving average, try to understand like what is the window, like how many rows we are setting up for moving average. Okay. Now, either you can set up 1 row, or else if you want to set up more rows, 2 rows or 3 rows, that also you can do. But here to keep the things simple, I have set up as 1 row. So average will be anything above that row. Okay. And that row, the sum of those 2 rows will be the value of actual that particular cell. Okay. Now, yeah. So the first is we'll select salesperson, date, and revenue, and then we'll use sum of revenue over partition by salesperson, order by sale date. And since we are doing running total, so we'll use rows between unbounded preceding and current row. Okay. So it will pick all the rows before it, and then it will also pick the current row. Okay. Now if we go ahead and then for moving average, basically we'll do average of revenue over partition by salesperson, order by sale date, rows between one preceding and current row as 2-day moving average. Okay. Now if I go ahead and execute. Okay, so this is what we are getting. So now if you see, we are getting first 3 columns. Now for running total, so you can see the first value is 100. The second value is 150. So it will become 250. Third value is, or third revenue is 200. So it will add 250. So 450. Then 300. Then 450, then 300. Oh, this is for a different person. Okay. So this is for Bob. Now for Bob, since we have done a partition for salesperson, right? Now for Bob, the first value is 300. Next value is 100. So 300 plus 100 is 400. And then again for Bob, another sale, 400. So it adds to 400, now 800. Same way. So moving average is basically the average between that value and its previous value. So here the first value was 100. The next value was 150. So 100 plus 150 would be like 125, right? So similarly, so 100, 150, 150 and then 200, then these two values average will be 175. Then accordingly, since it is the first value, we'll get just same value because there is no preceding value since we have done a partition by salesperson, right? So this is for Bob, this is the first row. So that's why we're getting the same value. Next, again, 300 plus 100, 400, so 200. Now 400 plus 100, 500, average 250. Okay, so we're getting 250. Now this is how basically moving average and sum of running total will work. Okay, so these are very popular calculations. So we can that's why I've showed it to you. And if there are any other scenarios, I would recommend please you can come up with those scenarios. We can definitely talk about it. Okay. Next is we can also do pivot. Okay. Now, if I want to turn the sale date row value into actual columns for a clean matrix report, okay, I can use pivot. Okay. So basically, I can do like select sale person and then this is a static date as Jan 1st and Jan 2nd and Jan 3rd from. So this is a subquery that I have used. So select salesperson. These are this is the query that I have used. Let me run the subquery first. Okay. Now for this particular subquery, I'm using another another table. So source table. Okay. I'm creating an alias name for the table. So now remember, whenever you're creating an alias name for a table, so you have to use as and then source table. The alias name is little different when you're coming to, so there are three places where you can, till now we have discussed three places where we have created alias name. One is the column names, okay, column alias name. So this as, there we have used as. Whenever you are creating an alias name for a table also, we have to use as. But whenever we are creating relationships or joins, there we don't have to use as. Okay, so keep this in a basic difference in mind. Okay, now as source table, then we do a pivot. In pivot, we are doing sum of revenue for sale date in these dates as pivot table. So we are naming this table as pivot table. Okay, now okay, let me just execute this. Okay, so now you can see we have created a pivot table where we are getting pivoted value, salesperson, and then first Jan 1st sale, second sale, and Jan 3rd sale. Okay, as an aggregation. Since we have used sum, it will aggregate and then we are getting the pivoted value. Okay. Okay. So basically what we will do, we will end the session here and then we will continue in our next session. I hope you have liked it. This might be little complex or little advanced. So I would recommend you to take a look at all the previous sessions and classes. And then if you have any questions or doubts, feel free to comment. I will definitely put in an effort to clarify that. Okay. So thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you liked it. Thank you so much.